Hello everyone, Don back with the next progress report on my work Corsair. Well, I've got the cowling all painted with the primer, and also the wing, as you can see, is in primer. I was looking to try and get it all painted today, but after spraying the wing, there is still some little blems in here that are going to need some light filling with some spot putty. You can see that blem there, but that's the bottom of the wing. It's not that crucial. But this one here, it's on the bottom edge. So the cowling, areas of the cowling, turned out very nice. This primer, they call it a high build sandable. I don't know if it's sandable yet. I just sprayed it today, and it does cure fast. It sets up really quick. So, and it goes on extremely nice. Sprays absolutely beautiful. And if you can even tell from looking at that, it's got a nice semi-gloss to it. But there's probably a couple little spots on it here and there that I might need to lightly sand. There was nothing in the paperwork saying how long, if it sits, you have to sand it or recoat it before top coating. Generally after, so many hours, you'd have to scuff sand it before you can apply top coat. So, but overall, it looks really good. The cowl flaps turned out, they're not too bad. I mean, there's still some blems here and there. There's a little blem right there, but that's the bottom. I'm not real concerned with it, but it does spray on really nice. It did go on very nice. Again, I'm using my Sony camera because this thing uploads videos twice as fast as the other little GoPro knockoff. So it just doesn't like to focus too well out here in this lighting, piss poor lighting. It is pretty much overcast now. Yesterday I was wanting to get out here and get painting on it and do all this, but it was calling for rain. Started off real sunny, and it did slowly cloud up. And somebody commented, hey, what about painting the inside of the cowling, zinc chromate green? Well, I had just a little bit of zinc left, just barely enough to shoot both of these. You can probably see a little light tiger stripes in there because I had to put it on kind of thin to just use up what I had. But I only had, once it was mixed, probably not even 4 ounces. It was like one cup size of my touch-up gun. So it's got color. I'll show you my little touch-up gun. What this holds here. That's all it is. That's all I had after it was mixed. And I even reduced it because this class coat paint is a little thicker than normal. The mixing cup. Yeah, when I put it in here, I think it was at 4 to 1, it was at 1. So it's probably 3 ounces. See, 1 ounce, 2 ounce. So it's probably close to 3 ounces. I think that's, nope, not 3 ounces. Looks like, yeah, about 3 ounces. So that's all all I had, but it's enough just to throw some color in it. But I'm pretty happy with this paint. The only thing I could tell you is it's not an extremely high build, but it's got a nice finish. Most everywhere is really, really good. I mean, that looks exceptional. It's the detailing of sanding this thing out by hand all the time. I can feel a little bit of stuff in it here and there. I'm not too concerned about that. It's a warbird, folks. They painted these things out in the middle of the jungle most of the time. Alright, so that being done, and then there's the top of the wing. Again, that's why I can see some stuff in it that still needs to be kind of feathered in, and hopefully that's got a couple good coats on it that I should be able to use some like 400 grit and maybe kind of blend it in, because this epoxy paint it is thicker and it fills in better. So, but that stuff's not as thick as I would like as far as being a sandable mixture. Alright, so yesterday it's been bugging me why my green down indicator lights aren't working on either of the mains, left or right. The tail light's on as red, meaning it's in between going up and down. It's only because none of the micro switches are closed, so it would turn on one light or another. So, so what I ended up doing yesterday is this harness that comes through here. You can see it's into here. It originally came all the way back around here. And every time I go to put the tank on, I'd have to make sure all that stuff was pushed out of the way and in there. So what I did is I ended up cutting some of this foam out here to get down into this plywood and get below this 3/4 inch long run. So I'm just under the long run. I cut about a 2-inch gap in there, about a 1/2 inch. And I pulled all the wires. I had to pull some wires, one out of the circuit breaker, one out of the bus bar over there, a bunch of the wires that were going to the instruments and such. So I had to pull them all out and stuff them through here. Plus I got the hose, the pressure sensing hose for the map sensor. And then here's the box with everything in it, along with the cord for hooking it up to a laptop, the USB. So originally it was mounted on top up there. Now it's going to go right here under the center like so. So all I got to do is just punch the holes in the top. There was 2 relays that were mounted here. They originally had relays mounted here, moved them to here. So I moved this one to here and I moved this one over to here. This is the fuel pump, this is the computer power, ignition power and everything for the engine. So I'm just going to write, you know, fuel pump, ignition relay on there. And this is a tail wheel. Speed controllers under there for how fast the tail wheel retracts, which I'm not going to be using right away. I'm just going to leave it down. I'm just going to disconnect it and leave it down because I made it steerable. Once it's retracted, and if you try to use the rudders, it's just going to jam up. That was the whole purpose of putting springs in there. But I'll test this method first, and if I don't like it, then I'll take this apart and I'll put some springs in there and give that a try. So yeah, you can see in there pretty good. So, and I got 1 wire left, and that went all the way down to the switch for the alternator, but it's hooked up to be the alternator light. Alright, I bought a sensor. I was going to bring it out, I forgot to, no, it's already out here, the sensor's here. I stopped at a local electrical shop in town that sells wiring for, you know, industrial, commercial applications. And this is a GM air temp sensor. And it turns out the transfer function that's in the program for the computer is already correct for this sensor. So all I got to do is got the connector and the pins. And I'm looking to put it right up here underneath the bottom of this air filter plate, so it'll read the air temperature of the air actually going into the engine. That'll be good for if the air temperature gets too high. I can have the computer pull out some ignition timing to keep it from getting into a detonation, because this engine is always running under heavy load. You know, no matter what RPM you're running at, it's under a load. It's not like a car load when it idles all the way down to 1200 and 1500 RPM for cruising. This thing will be cruising, you know, over 4000 RPM, and it's always under a load. The more you spin it, the more load it's under. So I think that's all I did here. I bought the wiring for the I was starting to mention wiring for the wingtip lights and the tail lights. So I bought 40 feet of 4 conductor with ground shielded cable, and it's all 20 gauge wire, so it's just the right size for soldering into the circuit board for the lights, the wingtip lights and that. And I retested those again in the house and they work fine. So let's see what else. I got some more connectors coming, some of these, because I need some more for wiring. I need especially 2-pinners like this one. Or actually it's a 4-pinner. I need a 2-pin like this to go out to the tail light, and I need 4 pins to go out to each wingtip light. So I ordered some 2-pins. Well, I got 4s. I ordered 2-pinners and 3-pinners. I ordered like 10 of each, 10 female, 10 males, and then I ordered 100 pins, 100 female pins and 100 male pins. So it was like $25 from Mauser Electronics. They're down in Texas. They should be here next couple days. I don't think the mail's going to be here tomorrow because of Columbus Day, so they probably won't show up till about Tuesday. I did get the white paint for the cowling. The insignia white came, so I have that. I just ordered that, and then also I got my wideband oxygen sensor right here. This thing, you can plug into it, plug a laptop into it, and I need to plug into the out connector, this one. And what that does allows you to go in here and reprogram the outputs. There's two outputs. One's programmed from the factory to be wideband 0 to 5 volts, and the other is narrowband, basically 0 to 1.1 volts. Well, I need that narrowband one reconfigured for wideband 0 to 5 because it's going into this computer. And then what that'll do is anytime I hook up my laptop to it and want to do some data logging to check the ignition timing and everything, power and timing, RPM, it'll give me an air-fuel ratio reading right in the program. I'll be able to data log it. But as it is right now, the gauge is a standalone anyway, so it's... Yeah, where is it? Should have been powered up. Oh, there it is. So it only needs to be on when the thing's on. But see, I've only got that red light. And it should be green, but these other two should be green, and they're not, the top two ones. So, after playing with it for a while, I kind of finally determined that they're burned out. The problem is they're red, green, blue, and one of them requires higher voltage to operate, and the other requires lower voltage. But to get them all to work with my power supply for those, I have to run it at the higher voltage to make the blue lights work, which is gear up. Green is gear down, red means it's transitioning between the two. And to get the power up high enough to get the blues to work, you're pushing the limit on the reds. You're getting to the top of the limit on that, so that's probably why they died. It's odd that they both died at once. I figured it's a ground circuit. The power from that little circuit board powers the LEDs, and then the switches on the gear complete the ground to turn the bulbs on. So, but I think that's pretty much all I got to report. You can see again that that stuff went on really nice, sprayed very nice. It flows in really well. Even with that cheap gun, it still did a very good finish. So a little bit of dust, could be specks of stuff in the paint as well. But I just literally painted it right here. I just taped off the bench so I can keep most of the paint off. You can see all the overspray on there. And it's probably all over the plane. The wing, I had it set in clear over here when I sprayed it. But the airplane is covered completely in dust anyway. Any paint dust that settles on there is going to be more attracted to the dust. So I'm not in any fear of it being oversprayed on that, because it'll wash off with the rest of the dirt. And if it doesn't, then I can just hit it. I got a big polisher buffer, quick zip zap, and it'll clean up. But as far as the inside, that's all I'm going with that, other than getting those aluminum pieces bolted in there, permanent. But I need to cut them out first, for the vents. So, and I need to get a piece of screen yet for that. So I've got, I mentioned I got the white paint. So that's what $70 looks like right there. And I already have the hardener, and then this is the hardener for the primer. And then I've got my, it says glossy sea blue, it's just a wrong label, it's the non-specular sea blue. And then this is the intermediate white, or intermediate blue, excuse me. That'd be on this. The bottom of the cowling, about from here around, is white. And then this is the light blue, and then from the seam up is all dark blue. So, alright, so I think that's everything. I've only got two things coming, those connectors that I'll need for the wiring for the lights, and then the little, it's a serial DB9 serial cable port to USB. My laptop doesn't have serial port, so I have to get an adapter. And you have to download and install software to make the thing work. I had one, but it's old and obsolete, and it wouldn't work. So it was $7 on eBay from, where is it, Rochester, New York, I think. So I'll probably see it in a couple days, depending on how quick they get her shipped. But otherwise, I did have to drag out the heater, turn it on this morning just to get a little heat out here to take edge off. But it got warm enough that I really didn't need it for painting, and it wasn't kicking on, but I always unplug it before I paint because I don't want it to have a flash explosion from the paint dust and the fire on that. But it's not bad now. It's cooling down. It's been dropping way down into the 50s at night, 40s at night actually. So, alright, I guess that's going to do her. I think the wife's probably going to be ready to start dinner. It's already coming up on 5 o'clock. I think that's still accurate. Yeah, it's got to be right. I just took the dog for his walk. So, alright, I guess that's going to do it for this update. I'm going to be out here. I'll go over these tomorrow, and if everything looks good, then I'll start shooting the color on them. I'll start with cowl with the white, hit the light blue, and then get the light blue on the bottom, and then do the top blue, and then do the top blue. I'm painting that whole top of the wing, so I had to wipe it all down with some reducer. Okay, I guess that's going to do her. As always, appreciate everybody taking the time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns. And as always, don't be afraid to leave any comments. And I appreciate the ones people are leaving now. And see, Joe's doing real well. Last time he had over 500 subs on his channel. So he did put a video up recently, so it was interesting. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go now, and I will get this loaded, and I will see you guys again more than likely Tuesday night. So for now, this is Don out.